Cognitive biases influence investment decisions, often leading to costly mistakes. Loss aversion causes investors to hold on to declining assets rather than accept a loss, even when better opportunities exist. Recency bias leads people to overemphasize recent events, making them reactive instead of strategic. Herd mentality drives market bubbles and crashes, as investors follow the crowd instead of independent analysis. Other common pitfalls include home bias, favoring familiar investments over better global opportunities, and anchoring, where investors fixate on past prices rather than current fundamentals. These biases distort rational decision-making and increase risk exposure. To mitigate these biases, investors can implement disciplined strategies such as predefined exit plans, systematic investing, and portfolio diversification. Awareness is the first step in avoiding these traps. By recognizing and addressing these biases, investors can reduce errors and make more informed financial choices.
Megan, I want to start with you. Financial therapy emphasizes self-awareness in financial decision-making. How can investors develop emotional intelligence to recognize these biases?
Oh, I love it. There's this beautiful book called Facilitating Financial Health that kind of describes different exercises you can do to kind of unpack the early emotions that may make you more predestined to make choices that are based on your emotions rather. One of them is a money egg, where you kind of draw out all the early memories you have around money, whether it's giving, receiving, earning, losing, spending, buying, whatever it is, and kind of create a storyline about all these experiences throughout your life and how they shape your relationship with money and impact things like your risk tolerance and your investment, aggressiveness. So I think doing that little look backwards can help you move forward in a better way.
Tom, you mentioned loss aversion in the previous segment. Like, what's an effective strategy to help investors recognize when it's time to cut a loss?
The best way to do it is have a predetermined selling rules. And let's start at the very beginning with working with an individual and how can we get them to make better decisions. The start of this, we believe, is planning. Working with a financial advisor, we think, is very important. So you develop a plan, and then you decide what their needs are, and then you fund each of the needs separately. So you've got liquidity needs. So you fund that with low risk bank accounts or money market funds. If you've got income needs, you head towards retirement, you lock those down for several years. And then the rest of it is a growth portfolio. So we call that, and it's very popular, bucket approach to doing things. Once you do that, then you can look at each of those separately. So when the stock market is going down, that's part of your growth portfolio. It's not part of your liquidity portfolio or your income portfolio. As an investor, and we are professional investors, we developed rules-based investing approaches. So we do a considerable amount of research on this, and we say this is how we're going to, these are the particular behavioral factors that we think are measurable and persistent. We use those for making our decisions. We then develop selling rules. And so it's not watching, and in many of our portfolios, we don't even watch what the stock is doing because that's an emotional trigger. We have other triggers that say, tell us when to sell that stock and when to buy it. So that's important to develop those very disciplined rules-based investing, and also for the selling. So before you even buy the stock or whatever, you decide what is the criteria I'm going to use for selling them.
Colin, your thoughts?
Yeah, I think what Tom said about myopic loss aversion is so profound. And so there's two parts to it, right? Which is a natural aversion to loss relative to equal size gain. That's been well established in many, many domains, not just in little lab experiments, but in studies of labor supply and marathon running. You know, people react differently to running a 4-hour marathon compared to 4:01. And the second part of it is the myopia, right? So in other words, if you could say to yourself, well, the stock market went down 5% this month, but these other good things happened to me. I'm going to kind of emotionally cancel out or sort of emotionally launder that loss against some other good thing, then that would do a lot of work. And the buckets approach is kind of one way to do that. I think it takes a certain amount of just emotional regulation. I think something some of the rest of you will know a lot more about might have to do also with household dynamics. So my wife, for example, grew up in a very low income child of immigrants and is very much of a tightwad. So as we started to accumulate some wealth, I had to kind of train her to enjoy spending money on things like vacations that we could well afford. And it really was a kind of household financial therapy. And I think she's much happier and I'm much happier. And, we're enjoying life. She has a high paying job. We're enjoying life. We're using the money to generate happiness, right? Not just some kind of dynastic nest egg.
Yeah, go ahead, Annika.
Thank you, Andy. Yes, actually, too, I want to add to what Tom said. I totally agree. We know that many investors know that long-term investing is better than panic selling, and they still do it. And investors understand the importance of diversification, and they know about loss aversion. However, when it comes to really working on it, I just found out myself when I was teaching a class and we had presentations and the presenters mentioned a stock and that if you have that one in your portfolio, you should have sold it already like ages ago because it's not coming back. And I was sitting there and thinking, actually, I'm the one who has this stock in the portfolio. And even though I know that it's not coming back and I shouldn't be holding on to it because I have a high opportunity cost in just investing the rest that I have into a better performing stock, since I did not talk to anyone before and I did not make the plan before. And I'm still just hoping I have been holding on to it. And I'm a big fan of do-it-yourself investing, but be sure that you make a plan beforehand and maybe implement a savings plan, not look at the stocks. If you are looking at, zoom out, even though one of them might be performing badly, others might be doing great. And so it's fine to just, cut your losses and invest into a better performing portfolio. And if you cannot do that, it's really helpful to get someone like a financial advisor, financial coach to be on your side and to be your sounding board and also to help you just go through with it in a more objective way.
Megan, I want to go to you before you have to leave.
Yes, I just want to echo what Annika shared. I think one of my favorite quotes about stock of all time was when Warren Buffett was asked after the 2008 crash, how much money did you lose during the Great Recession? And he said none. He had made a plan and had diverse stocks and had a long-term time horizon that allowed him to weather the storm. And so I hope listeners and investors find ways to create a plan and controls to keep the emotions out of those investment decisions and play the long game instead.
Thank you so much. It pays to be Warren Buffett.
It does help.
The experience, and also he gets access to some very good, attractive deals. Let's go to the next segment.